All right. I had to do take 9 because I got 8 minutes into my video and my smart brain, I opened up a file that had a bunch of, I guess, NDA related stuff in it. So, like, I didn't want to. Your boy doesn't like editing videos. So, hey, this is where we are now. But, hey, you guys, it's been a long time. So yeah, I'm pretty much just starting here with some sketches that I did, some really bad sketches, but some sketches that helped me, kind of explain to myself how I wanted things to look. After my last project, I have gotten like work with a specific place. I won't talk about that until like the later half of the video, but yeah, I've been it's been, let me tell you guys, it's been a wild ride. That's all I'm gonna say. It's been a wild fucking, I mean, it's been a wild ride. Okay. Um. So yeah, after my last project, the medieval housing one, I really want to do a part 2 of that because that was really fun. I might not color them as much though. I the rendering takes so long sometimes that like, or at least the way I do it. So I'm still figuring these things out, but it can take so much longer than you could ever expect. Like, this project was supposed to be done like 3 months ago, but obviously things came into place that I'll talk about later. There's always those moving parts in the background that just influence how everything falls together. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. I could be at work and like cut my finger on like this actually okay, completely different. Okay, that's for later. God damn it. I have to stay focused. I'm doing my best. I'm rusty as hell. So like this whole thing, I can't even believe I'm recording a video right now. I'm this close to finishing this project, and it's just been so much bigger than it was supposed to be. So many hours, man. Jesus Christ. I did have a planning page, but I don't know where it went. Like it ran away from me or something. This file is like a ninja or something. Like it was supposed to be in the cloud, the Adobe cloud, but I don't know where in the cloud this thing is, and I can't be bothered to go look for this thing, honestly. But basically, at the beginning of this project, I had a bunch of planning things, for how I was going to tackle this whole sci-fi thing, because I haven't done it before. Like, when I was in FZD, I mostly stuck to medieval settings, because that's my favorite setting. I don't know why, but man, like, I don't know why. I don't know why, but sci-fi is actually starting to grow on me after this project, because there's a lot of things, of course, that you can do in sci-fi that you can't really do in medieval, and vice versa. Each have their ups and downs as far as what's possible and what materials you can use and whatnot. Still exploring that kind of stuff. This is definitely like one of those projects where I just got my feet wet. I didn't necessarily jump in the river, but but I stood on the shore, or whatever you call it. And yeah, I ran into a lot of issues as far as planning, like time planning, like any artist would, because I mean, who's that? That those kinds of things take time. We'll just say that. But yeah, it's been a long time since I talked to you guys. Hopefully, in these past like 7 months, you guys have had an equal amount of growth or challenges that you've benefited from. Hopefully, not too many setbacks. Who likes those, right? Speaking of which, I'm actually in the middle of a setback myself. I'm kind of in a crossroad or something, like where I have to make a pretty big decision. That's pretty stressful, but I'll talk about that stuff later. Like I say, I try to keep the personal stuff in the second half of the video. So for the people who are here for art, yeah, this is basically my first attempt at a sci-fi project. It's very vague, I would say. When I first started this project, I was thinking of like this underground bunker where some guy works on drones, and he like uses the drones to go and like, let's say, just scout the surface. I'm thinking like this is some post-apocalyptic. I know, right? How many times have we heard that when it comes to sci-fi? Oh, post-apocalyptic, like this, that. But yeah, the whole idea was something like this guy, so a corrupt government or something, they nuke This is right after. Okay, I started this project before the Fallout show, by the way. So this just goes to show how long this shit has been cooking, dude. Like, literally, this was supposed to be done like 3 months ago, 4 months ago. But here we are. Better late than never, right? But the whole idea was something like sending drones to the surface and like fixing them with parts that you find on the surface to be able to scout further. And the whole thing was like it wasn't safe on the surface for the guy or whatever, like whoever the character would be, but it's safe enough to be able to send drones, and you kind of have to fit the drone to overcome certain obstacles. Like there might be weather obstacles, there might be hostile, and like of course you have hostile environments, characters, whatever, right? And you would kind of just outfit the drone to be able to deal with certain things. Like, are you going to have a longer battery or a bigger battery on it so that it can go further but it can't carry as much, or just those kinds of things, right? Or like, would you have a security camera on it in place of what you would use the space for, usually like a weapon or something to like scrap items? Just those kinds of ideas. Of course, those ideas are in themselves are cool, but when it comes to the execution, that's where things start. That's where the gears start turning, man. It's so easy to like just think of all these cool, crazy ideas, and then when it comes to actually trying to figure out how to execute those things, it's just completely different. It's a different ball game altogether. So that's probably the biggest thing that I noticed here, is because in comparison to like medieval stuff, it's in terms of what you can kind of come up with, it's like almost night and day, really. Because medieval fantasy stuff has a very hard limit on like what's possible in that era, because it's like historical. You can't have, sure, you can probably put like modern weapons into a medieval setting, but like it kind of makes everything fall apart instantly. Like literally, it's like, okay, well, how's this guy have a double barrel shotgun, and like who made it's, I don't know. You get what I'm saying though, I hope. If you don't, I sound like a complete idiot, but hey, that's how we learn, right? I just go back and watch these videos and cringe at some of the things I say, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Anyway, so yeah, we had a bunch of sketches here, and they weren't supposed to be like anything crazy. It was mostly to explore how the layout would be. At this point, you could see I didn't even know what the drone would look like. It was just like random parts, because with some of these I was thinking, okay, like maybe there could be drones that aren't fixed yet, like hanging from the ceiling, and some drone parts on the floor and on the tables and stuff. And I didn't want to go down the direction of just a bunch of monitors. Even though you see that here, I didn't want there to be just a bunch of monitors without any recognizable forms. Like, for example, you could see a monitor, but you don't know what the monitor is used for. Of course, like your computer is used for work. It can be used for games. It can be used for drawing, right? But it's through the supporting items around that computer that tell you what it's used for most of the time. And a lot of that is kind of lost when it comes to modern technology, right? And how you portray it, because it's like on a laptop, like back in the day, right? These people had disk drives that had like 1 megabyte of space, and then you have a file cabinet right next to it with a bunch of papers in it. So those papers kind of indicate like that's how the data was stored, instead of them being on this digital hard drive. So I just kind of wanted to remove the hard drive and keep all of the set dressing that supports what the computer is being used for. I really hope that makes sense, dude. But like, okay, for example, right? You can have a plain laptop, but you don't know what it's used for. And the second you put like a drawing tablet next to it, it's like, okay, this guy's an artist. And then once you start putting like artworks on the wall, okay, this guy's definitely an artist. You put multiple monitors with like, I don't know, like the tablets that you can draw on instead of the separate, the display tablets that you can draw on instead of having like a physical flat thing that's separate from your monitor. The monitor itself is actually the drawing tablet. That's I don't know if that's ringing with you guys, but once you start seeing things like that and you see little, maybe like a rack with a bunch of different drawing pins on it, like the more supporting details that you have like that, it just enforces that person being that much of an artist. It's like, and no, I'm not saying like, okay, if you don't have 4 monitors, you're not like a real artist or some bullshit. I don't want somebody to draw some crazy ass conclusion to like that, but like, you get what I'm saying. The more things that you see, it's like, okay, this guy is without a doubt. It's like, think of it like this way, right? Because I know some of you guys have gotten the point and you're like, holy fuck, dude, just get back to the point. But listen, okay, it's like someone being a fan of something, right? Like if I have a Fallout poster, right? It's like, okay, this guy likes Fallout. But then if I have all the bobbleheads on my desk and then I have like a Pit-Boy, it's like, okay, this guy's a super fan. You know what I mean? And then like, if you take it a step further, it's like this guy has like a Fallout bed sheet or something, some crazy shit. You know, like it'd be like, okay, this guy like lives and breathes this game. So like, that's what I kind of wanted to visualize. And as far as like occupation is like, what is this person using this for? So like, instead of having, you know, files of blueprints on the on a computer, instead it would just be like, you know, physical blueprints that could be on the walls, parts, tools. But of course, executing this is just so fucking different. It's so different. Like, I can think of those things, but when I oh my fucking, I'm starting to stutter. Okay. When I started thinking about these things, like right here, for example, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have drones hanging from the ceiling and parts and all that. Kind of like a mechanic shop where they, like, if you look at an exhaust, like a workshop that works on exhausts and mufflers and stuff, like, you know how they sometimes hang them from the ceiling or something, or have them like all mounted on the wall, like these different kinds of mufflers and stuff like that. What if it was like that? You know, it'd be so obvious that this person works on drones. But then once I started doing that here, I'm like, oh shit, I don't even know what the drones look like. Now I have to go gather reference and try to figure out what the drone's gonna look like. So it was just like, man, now I have to concept all these different parts. And once I started thinking about that, I was like, okay, that's way too complicated. Like, that's a lot of work to do. So I kind of dialed it back a little bit and went for a more simplified approach, because this sketch is what kind of, like, once I got to sketch 6 and I looked at this, I was like, man, I don't even know what these things are going to look like. That's a lot of work. I'll just dial it back somehow. I don't know. So I went from these blockouts. Like I said, I wanted to avoid the typical like 45-degree angle sci-fi stuff that you see on ArtStation a lot, and I just wanted to try my own like approach to it. Try some forms and shapes that I've never really seen before. Not that I exactly succeeded in that, but that was like my intention, I guess. I don't know. I lost my train of thought for a second. So yeah, and with these sketches, I can even tell, like, I didn't even really know what, like, when you think mechanic, like working on drones, like what machines would be involved in that. I didn't even go as far as thinking about like different kinds of metalworking machines. Like, of course, these things are popping up to me in hindsight because now I know what wasn't in the work itself. I have the hindsight now. Like, I know what could have been added to make things a lot more believable as far as like work tables and metalworking machines. I could have looked at a lot of metalworking tools and took inspiration from those, but I didn't. Like I said, I was more concerned with like having a more traditional looking office / workshop that could have a bunch of like drawers and tool cases and all that kind of stuff. So in my references, you can see like I was just looking at a lot of old computers, you know, old computers that had interesting forms that I thought were pretty cool. Old lamps, these kinds of like storage things. Like maybe you like store tools like those little screwdrivers and screws and all that kind of stuff in there. Stuff like this, I thought was pretty cool. Foldable, printable, like just for things that like can fold and just all kinds of stuff like that. But and that this was another thing. I was thinking like maybe this guy could like 3D print the parts instead of having to actually do that. But then I was like, okay, well, what can I add to support that? And that's where I kind of started. My brain just, I don't know. I did not. Okay, in terms of trying to hit my I'd say my goal as far as how things were portrayed. I don't think I'll just talk about that later because my brain is just off the rails right now. I don't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, so we'll go back to here. Let me see. Okay. Thank God this file is on this monitor. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with the early blockouts. So this is how the room was at first, right? And over time, I started like honing in on how I wanted it to be framed and whatnot. And the further I went, of course, things started making more and more sense to me. I started doing little sketch overs. Literally don't know what any of these things do. That's the main thing I realized was like I don't know what any of these monitors are supposed to do or like what they're supposed to portray. Just generic sci-fi, right? And that's kind of where I ended. But I did learn a lot from the project. I think that's the most important part. So like when I showed this version to one of my friends or some of my friends that I went to school with, Satchit, Evan, and Jerome, they were talking about how the room was just basically a square and that how like it can be changed a little bit to be more interesting. So I just kind of had it this offset to the right. And I think that stayed in there for the most part. Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel necessarily here. I was just trying to try my hand at sci-fi, and that was pretty much going to be it. And this is most of the references I was looking at that time, like stuff like this, little submarine, like technology. I don't even know what this shit does. Like looking at this, it's beyond me. I don't know what any of that is for, but this is kind of more recognizable, obviously, because we all recognize the telephone, right? That's a very recognizable thing. And then this is probably, if I had to guess, how you dial the numbers. Yeah. This is probably different, like audio listening cables or something. I have no idea. This is some other stuff from like a bunker that I found that had some kind of interesting shapes going. But once again, like more just technology looking stuff that no one knows. Like, I think I was better off probably just looking at these things and imagining what they were going to be for instead of actually trying to figure out what they were really for. I thought this computer was pretty cool. So yeah, like I said, like it was just looking at a bunch of this reference stuff and just trying to make sense of it. Control rooms. I looked at different art style. I thought this was a really cool piece too. I put his name right there, obviously, because like whenever I know I'm gonna go over these in videos, or in a video, so I wanted to kind of give that person credit if anyone else saw the art piece or whatever and thought they wanted to go check it out. So yeah, here I went a little closer to. This is pretty close to how the end thing looks, drawing thing. So yeah, not much to say yet. Just trying to break the room apart more. I think this is probably this section right here is probably the only like 90 degree or 45 degree angle thing that I probably did, along with this kind of turn here. It's a very popular. I wonder why. Oh no, actually, and the lights too. These are supposed to be like lights that. So like a workstation here, workstation there, and these lights kind of illuminate the sides, and then this little middle part was gonna be like a adjustable lamp. Like there's gonna be a lamp on there, and you could move it vertically, or not vertically, like from one side of the room to another. Yeah, so like it probably the light would be right here, and then it can move to right there, and then same on that side. So I did that, like I did add these in the middle. Like it was kind of the same idea, but like these would be more directional lights. So anything that these lights don't shine on bright enough, like you can use these to turn and actually like put a spotlight on like a table or something, right? And these are supposed to be like the 3D printers that this guy would be using. And then this was supposed to be like another section with a bunch of books and tool parts, like a little work table right there. This was like a first aid station kind of. I don't even know what that box was supposed to be. Like that's just what I mean. Like the planning has to be, for me, it has to be so much more in depth than what I always expect. I never expect things to be this complicated until I actually start doing them. That's the scary part, because like you can plan and like you can plan. You can plan so much that your plans have fucking plans. But Jesus Christ, like the second you get into the Blender or like Photoshop, it's a completely different story. I cannot stress that enough. Like I almost want to say next time I'm going to go with vague plans first and just try to stick to those as much as I can and then expand on them from there after like I have a decent base for them, because like the plans were floating ideas, but there was no strong foundation at the bottom for those ideas to sit on. I don't know. I don't know if I worded that right, but whatever, man. And then this was like foreground. I just wanted something to be in the foreground to maybe separate that. So like you had, this is the foreground. This was kind of like the midground bordering for the shot. And then that was going to be like over the whole room kind of. And this was supposed to be like a like a power generation area where, you know, you open these boxes, these like what are they called, that have the power, the you know when your power goes out and you go downstairs or wherever you go to like flip the switches to make them come back on, that kind of thing, like a control. Dude, why am I not able to think of these things right now? Utility closet kind of, I think that's what they're called. Yeah. And then like the floodlights, like maybe the power goes out and then these floodlights shut on to be able to illuminate like where this is. Yeah. What else? Another thing I noticed this far in too was that there wasn't a lot of life support items. So like, or not life support items, but like things that show that someone's actively living in that space, or actively like, you know, like where you would keep food and water and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't that in my brain at all at this point, so I didn't really even give it much thought, honestly. I was thinking this was maybe like a box that would have a fire extinguisher or something along those lines, some monitors that like display the conditions and I don't know, like what's it called, man? Like the fluid levels, like kind of how a printer would show the black ink, the yellow ink, the pink ink, or whatever they call it, indigo or something. I don't know, that kind of stuff. Like those kinds of bits of information, right? And these would be the control panels. So that was my idea there. This would have probably been like the security areas, or maybe like a power station that manages like the power out, like the outgoing power to each station. So like that's where you would manage that. So like if you were playing a game, like if I were to gamify it, right, like you could maybe you could send certain amounts of power to different workstations to make them work at different what's the word, man? I swear I'm having like heat, like my brain. It's so hot in my room. I have the fans off because the they get into the microphone or whatever. But to make them different levels of what the fuck, dude? What is my brain doing right now? Like, actually, efficiency. Yeah, like you could alter you can change the efficiency levels of different workstations based on how much power they get. Like maybe there's some kind of weather condition that prevents you getting a certain amount of power, and you have to prioritize different workstations. Such like ideas are easy. The hard part is execution, guys. Fuck. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, this is kind of like where I was vaguely thinking at this point. Again, I thought it would be interesting to have a table in the middle to kind of break the room up. And I added like some boxes. Maybe this guy's like bringing in more scrap to add to all of the stations and upgrade things. At the time, I thought these little signs would be cool to say like workstation A, workstation B, or something, and then have these pipes going over to kind of break up the ceiling a little bit. Because as you can see here, like nothing was pretty much on the ceiling, so I wanted to add some kind of pipes or something to make it a little bit more believable, being like a bunker. And I may have had reference for something like that somewhere. Dude, I was even looking at stuff like this, like the I forgot. I watched a documentary on these things, like the first typewriting machines or something for newspapers, and like the whole thing with that was like so crazy. Like this guy, man, I forget the story. My brain is just, I'm so hot, guys. Not physically. I mean, like I'm saying, I'm fucking hot, dude. I'm not saying like I'm good looking. Man, these videos are so scuffed, man. Okay. Okay, maybe I didn't have reference for it. Man, my room's got to be at least like 70 degrees right now. I mean, like 80 degrees. You're watching a man lose his mind in real time. Okay, so like maybe kind of like how these power pipes are going along the walls and stuff. That's probably where I got that kind of inspiration. Same with these kinds of things, like these little walls that have a bunch of control or electrical panels. I thought that would be pretty interesting, so I tried to add something like that along the ceiling and just have, because the one thing I hate is having like a big space that's just empty. You can always populate it with something. It's just a matter of time, really. But I thought it would be interesting to add some boxes, like I said, some shelves every now and like in some spaces with some drawers, and just to show that like there's a lot of storage and utility in the room, What else did I add here? Oh, so between this one and the last one, you can see I added those little circles onto these boxes to like maybe to show that they were going to be lights, basically. I just wanted to keep track of all those kinds of things while I was doing this, because I kept coming, like whenever I was working on these, I was coming back and forth to them like over a span of like day. Like sometimes I wouldn't work on it for days and then like weeks. So because of the newly acquired job that I had, so like I didn't want to keep like losing track of thought or like what I was planning. So like those simple shapes would help me remember what was going to be there. And I thought it would be cool to have these little panels in the ceiling. Maybe like you unclip them and then it exposes a bunch of wiring behind there. That might be pretty interesting. Or like vents, maybe. That's what these little squares right here were supposed to be, like a vent coming out of the wall on both sides. But I didn't really think about that. The interesting part of these videos sometimes too is that some of you guys are like actually like architects, and some of you guys, like the variety of people who watch some of these videos is like crazy. Like one of you, I remember in one of my videos, there was an architect. Now, like this guy could have been fucking 12 and like just trying to troll me, but at the same time, it made me think, and for that, I appreciate it, But he was like, "Oh, like I see a lot of your floor plans probably wouldn't really work." When it comes to games, that's not always, like, realism isn't always the goal, or like sometimes you have to gamify certain floor plans and props and whatnot, but it just makes it's really like if you guys actually come from these different backgrounds, I wouldn't mind seeing some feedback in terms of those things, like the guy who helped me with the roof shadow. Like I didn't think about that until he brought it up. But yeah, I don't know. You guys are awesome though, man. Every even though I haven't uploaded in a long time, I still go back and look at some comments, and I sometimes look at my dashboard or whatever for YouTube to see if anyone commented anything new. Because it just always makes me think, and that's good. Thinking is good. Jordan 2024. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So we have, the ceiling. We added some shelves. Now here I changed almost completely as far as some of this area, because this looks like hell right now. Like if I go back to the Photoshop, you can see I was probably trying to explore something along the lines of this little thing right here with the different batteries or something powering. I think that's what this was supposed to be, like some battery station where you charge the batteries and you can see them in real time, like draining, with the gauges showing how much, like if the power drainage rate is like consistent, or if it's spiking, if it's over like in the red or low, like that could hint to some kind of problem in the back, on the back end of your electrical system or something. I don't know. So this is me like completely talking out of my ass, by the way, when it comes to like the ideas. But like that just goes to show what kinds of things I was thinking about, as far as, what direction to take certain things. So yeah, I tried to change those three. So here, let me go back real quick. I tried to change it from being, three little printer things to two, with a control system here, like the main control panel being here, and then ended up changing it to one with a bunch of hanging batteries, and it would take 3 batteries at once, and this is the little panel to open up the 3D printer and put something in there, and then it could be printing behind the screen, so like all the dust and stuff doesn't like get into the whatever is being printed. More batteries on the ground, the table. Yeah. All right, let's see what happens next. I actually don't even remember. Did I add anything else in this? Oh, okay. So yeah, this started to come. This idea started to come a little alive. Like, and I know this is like very early, but like you don't have to render everything out so much in these stages. Like sometimes that simple square can easily be a monitor, and you don't have to like make the 3D all crazy. So yeah, then I changed it again. What the fuck? Yeah. So another change, like you could just tell I had no idea how to handle this whole 3D printer thing. Because if you look at real 3D printers, like here, I'll look up one 3D printer. If you look at them, I mean, look at it. Fuck. Alright, you see? They're just squares. Like, of course you can maybe use some of that shape language or something, but for the most part, they're squares, man. Like, so I probably didn't put too much thought into that, and that's probably why this spot changed so much in the early stages, because it's like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. So I tried to sketch over it, the raw 3D to just kind of give myself an idea as far as how I would handle things. And like I said, this was another attempt at me trying to draw different parts. But like I said, I didn't even know what the drone would look like. Like, look at it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. So by extension, like I didn't know what its parts would look like. You get what I mean? So essentially things started getting a little bit complicated. But as far as like all the different stations, I guess it kind of made a little sense here. Seems like I had a decent idea, and for the most part, like compared to how the end is, this is kind of how things ended up being. With this station, with this station, with this station, This one is what changed the most, I would probably say. But even in the end, man, this thing still doesn't make sense to me at all. Like I did towards the end, I did some breakdowns for the props, and like that helped clarify things so much. But the time that it takes to do that, like I wanted to go and do a breakdown for each prop individually, or each station at least individually. So like, even though you couldn't see it in the whole shot, you could see the breakdowns and imagine like, okay, this is what it would look like up close. Even though from the side you can't really see like what buttons or like what these things would look like, because it's from the side view and it's kind of skewed. You know, it's shortened. I forget the word for that. Same with this. This is kind of like hard to make out from this angle. So that's another thing with sci-fi stuff, is like, or any kind of detail in a room, breakdowns will always help with that kind of stuff, because it's just the more specific, the more, or not the more specific, but the smaller details that would be on that thing, the harder they are to really show when you're so zoomed out. Everything just starts to get blurry, if that makes any sense. Like I said, the aid station with the fire extinguisher, a bunch of like medical panels, like medical boxes, a little light that would illuminate them, and then especially if the power went out, like these floodlights would probably come on in addition to the aid station, because those are probably your two main concerns. Like if you hurt yourself when the power went out, like you want to know where the aid station is, but you also want to know where the power is, so you can divert it. Like you can divert, is that the right word? So you can like give it to the certain whatever stations you need. So you can like man, do I need to take English classes or something? Like, fuck. Like, imagine if I was, man. Anyways, let's see. Okay. So this was again another change, trying to see what this drone would look like. And at this point, I had no idea. Like, you could see, like, I had no idea what I wanted this thing to look like at all. I don't even think in my Photoshop file. Let me see. Oh, okay. I briefly, I guess, tried something. Look, I had no idea what this thing was going to look like. Let me see. Oh, here's a sneak peek. So this is something that I came up with. I just put a bunch of parts together and just said, fuck it. Like, I was just like, at this point, I was just done with this being so complicated. So yeah, this is pretty much, I think, where we are right now, right? Let me see. Okay, no, this is a little further along, but you guys get it. Yeah. Oh, so here's some earlier sketches, actually. I forgot to even show this. So like in the early stages, like I was still sketching over the 3D to try to see like what I would be pitting where. So this was that block out, and then I tried to like just sketch over things to make it make sense. So like surveillance, like a power, like maybe this was like a room that went to like a power generating room or something like that. Some random parts or something. I didn't know what this, yeah, see, like, what does it do? Like, I was just like, what the hell? Maybe, I even had like a brief idea where like the terminal, like all of this big machine wouldn't even be visible until you typed in a code like on the wall, and then this like garage door kind of lifts, and then it reveals this machine behind it that like you could activate it and it would do some printing stuff. So yeah, like maybe a sliding door, a vertical one, open and close terminal thing right there with the controls behind the wall that would slide up. A bunch of random, like, I don't know what they are, forms that like supposed to be sci-fi. This is actually kind of fun though. Like, even though I had no idea what I was drawing, I was just like, man, I hope something clicks. And yeah, you can just tell, man, I had no idea where this was going, man. Jesus. First sketch over. Same thing here. Parts that would be on the wall, but like I didn't know what the parts were for. I didn't know what the parts were. I didn't know what they were a part of. Okay, so let's go back. Where are we at with the video so far? 39 minutes. Oh my jeez. Okay. All right, so here we go. We have okay. So we have the first block out for the this drone thing. I thought that was a cool shape. Like I just went with the crossbow. Like I was thinking like, what's a cool shape that I like? Fuck it, I'll just do a crossbow, and that's the shape that this drone thing came with. Or that's the man. Slow down, just focus, dude. I'm about to like punch a wall right now because I keep stuttering. uh, okay, yeah, I was just like a crossbow would be cool. Like I'll just make it in a crossbow shape, and that's what I did. Just a quick block in. Other than that, I don't think I changed much with the background. I was mostly focused on the drone at this point. And this is the sketch over that you guys saw before, so I rotated the desk. One of my friends, Jerome, actually recommended me to he was like suggesting that I should probably bring the shot in more, so like crop out more of this like outer wall part right here and just have it more focused on the room itself rather than the surrounding, this like empty space around it, which I thought was pretty interesting too. Like, or I'm not sure, I don't want to muddy his words here, but like bro was yapping. He was like, oh, you should take out like half. No, I'm joking, Jerome. I know this dude just did like, he's just started freaking out for a second. Yeah, he was suggesting that I crop some things out to focus more on the centerpiece though. But at that point, I was so far deep that like I was so far gone. I don't know what these goddamn analogies are. I mean, what these analogies are, but I was just like, man, I'm so far gone. I should just probably like I put so much thought into all this random stuff, so I'm just gonna keep it in there. That's pretty much what that was, and of course like yeah. Okay, so let's see where we went from here. And of course, I was thinking like this drone would be hanging from the ceiling, and you could have like all the tools on the table with the, drawers with the tools in them. Kind of like a table plus a toolbox, I think that's another way that you could design like sci-fi things too. Like if you just combine things that already exist, like a table plus a toolbox, or a generator plus computer, or a generator plus a computer is a laptop, right? Because the laptop itself can be powered, like it can be on without an external, because it has a battery. But then, you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like you can just say like a crate plus a safe, like a lockable. That's just the safe. I'm fucking stupid. Okay, all right, guys. Bear with me here. So yeah, here I started I started modeling actually the things that I sketched over, which was probably not the move, because I still didn't know exactly what they were, and the time that it took me to model those things took a bit of time, but it kind of helped me visualize it in 3D so I would know what it would look like. Kind of like it was a morale booster in a way, because for a while I'd been looking at like a bunch of simple shapes and I didn't know if they were going anywhere. So I guess this kind of boosted my morale a little bit, even though it didn't really make any sense because I still didn't know what things were for the most part. But yeah, I just started adding in a bunch of like the stuff that I saw from references and just adding random forms that I thought looked cool. And yeah, that was pretty much that. And this is what I was talking about. So with the ceiling, I blocked in these little lights that hang from the ceiling and kind of just added more detail again. So, I got some radio props back there that are like pretty simple looking, but I know what they are when I look at them. Making the lights make more sense. So like just increasing the detail, the global detail level pretty much to have more of a feel for what I was trying to make here. And this is what I meant with the lights. Like they'd be able to move along this like conveyor belt type thing that to highlight different parts of the room, and you could like turn them left or right or up or down. But for the most part, I just kind of kept them all straight down so it wouldn't look clunky. Because if like one was like 90 degrees that way and then like 45 degrees that way, it just kind of look a little weird in my opinion. I don't know. So here, of course, I added more detail to the this toolbox table type thing, and I actually had like an idea for the drone. Even though it didn't really make too much sense. My friend actually pointed this out. He was like, "Oh, it looks like R2D2." Well, I was just like, "Yep, that's gone." I was like, when he said that, I just laughed it off, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm taking that out." I don't know. And then like a little toolbox, some life support, I guess you could say, like with the mug. Another toolbox, just some random container. So I think at this point I was kind of too far in 3D, because it was like I needed at this point I would have recommended myself to like sketch over these even, because now the detail level was a little higher and I could actually like add on top of that much quicker with 2D than I could with 3D. Even though it wouldn't look crazy good or anything, it would at least be understandable for me. What else? So this is what I was talking about also with the buttons on these little terminals. Like, sure, you can see the buttons, but you can't really see what they do. So it just essentially looks like a little square. I'll show you guys, actually. You'll see it later. What else? Yeah, just started like breaking down these shapes to make them more interesting. And not so like I didn't want, see, like, okay. When you look at this one and then look at, oh man, it doesn't stay zoomed in. But like it just looks a little better. It just looks a little better, like easier on the eye. It still has that same amount of space that's empty, kind of, but it's just broken down a little bit. Yeah, just okay. Simplest way I could say is I just increased the detail level a little bit. Okay, so here I just took see, I told you, I took that out instantly. So here's the drone. It's pretty much just like a white box thing. Of course, this thing wouldn't be able to fly realistically, but I thought it looked cool, so I was just like, screw it. And then these cameras were for like surveillance, right? So this drone would fly out there and start taking a bunch of pictures of the surface that the person couldn't explore physically. I started adding like little boxes, like I think that was supposed to be either water containers or something, or like batteries or something like that. I don't know. And here you can see I probably changed some stuff here too. Yeah. So this part, I thought this would be cool to have the lights like on top of the computer where the desk was, so like you could draw, like the person could be drawing up stuff and have that light there too. There was just something I was gonna say, but I lost my train of thought already. I'm gonna try to wait for it to come back. Something you guys also notice is there's not a chair in here. Like, I didn't put in a chair, so this guy's just essentially walking everywhere. We'll just go with the idea that there's a stool somewhere behind that, okay? But yeah, life support. That would have been a life support item, I think, or maybe. I mean, you can live without it, but it wouldn't make sense not to have one, right? In a work environment. Yeah, and with this one to the next, I just kind of added some more smaller details, had some of the drawers come out a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, just a small addition here with the table. And then made some more changes to this thing. So this is another thing. With that being so far in the background, these small, like, to draw the handles and stuff on these desks, these little drawers, I mean, would have been really tedious. Like, at that point, you're not working with a lot of space to design that. So that's why, like, in the future, like, in later stages, you'll see that just pretty much disappears. See, higher detail. I just started adding more and more stuff to the scene. These didn't make sense because they were just floating. I think I just kept them in, though. I was just like, man, I can't just keep going back and forth like this. I gotta finish this. Added it back on, like, to try to fix it or something, but I think I eventually just took it out. Did a draw over, so this is something I feel like I should have done a lot sooner, but I thought it was way cooler to have these little, like, the drawers, like, to open them, you like pull them down and then pull them back. I thought that was just a little more interesting. And I just kind of drew over the 3D and just enhanced it a little bit here. It sucks I can't zoom in here, but you can see like I just kind of drew over some of the things, added a little details there, here and there. Yeah, started outlining some of the stuff over here, but for the most part, you could see like I was pretty confident with most of this stuff on the left, but on the right, like I was just at a complete loss. Like at this point, my brain was just starting to shut down, and not really like I was at this point. I was just kind of over it. I was just like, man, I just need to finish this. Started adding the tiles on the floor, a little bit more detail. Changed these up again. See, I made these a little bigger because I figured like with how far they were, you're not dealing with a lot of space to draw the drawers and stuff. That's why I kind of like made those bigger. I just wanted to use bigger shapes at that point because it's just, you'll know what I'm talking about later. I added in like a refrigerator on the side here. Like maybe that's where he keeps his food and stuff. Added more foreground on the left, bottom left here, so you can see that. Changed this because I don't know this. What I was trying to do here was I was trying to draw the kind of like the base of this lamp, and I just wasn't coming up with anything, so I just raised it and put it off camera because at that point, like I was trying to draw so many different solutions to how to connect this base to that thing, and I didn't want it to just be like a lazy square, so I was just like, and this, I mean, this probably could have worked, but I don't know. It felt kind of weird to me. So I just did this. Added some, details in the foreground. Did a complete draw over. So you can see over here, like it's just, when you zoom out, it's like so hard to make these things read. Even the little tools that I had. And that came from this reference, actually. So it's going to be hard to make this much detail read in that small of a space. So realistically, like if I wasn't a lazy guy, we'll just say that to be nice, I'd go back and replace that with something else. Because this just, I mean, sure it reads okay, but like it just doesn't, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me. Did some more draw over for the drone thing. So this is where I started to color things. So this is the whole nother thing, right? It's like, this is what I kind of feel like is the ugly duck phase of rendering. It's like when I'm trying to figure out colors, like I always go through this stage where I'm like, man, this is going to be tough. Cause these are things I just didn't even think about yet. So I didn't know what color I wanted things to be. I didn't know anything as far as colors. I just wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking specifically about like the how things would look. Oh, and this is another thing too. I did add some small details to like the monitors here outside of like the 3D model because I thought they looked a little bit more interesting. I didn't want them to just be squares, so I just tried to like break them up a little bit. Same with this thing here. Oh no, I didn't add too much there actually. Yeah, I don't think I added too much. Yeah, because these are, see, when you look here, like it's just a bunch of circles, like maybe a square and one little knob there. And like I just go back in and add just these small little buttons, stuff like that. That stuff is always kind of fun to me. And then with this thing, I was thinking like some like triple locked safe. I don't know what would be in here, like a locker or something that like you open it and then you can open the second part of it. So you would have essentially the first part that opens, and then behind that there'd be another door that opens, like another section, and that would be behind a lock. So I don't know. But at this point, I'm still trying to make stuff make sense, because even though it might look pretty nice to some of you guys, even me, like I think this looks pretty nice, but like functionally, I feel like if someone asked me, okay, so what does this do? Like if they pointed out anything, I wouldn't have known what to tell them. Like I would have probably been able to bullshit something up on the fly, but like if you ask me like, okay, what does this do? Like I'd probably be like, man, You can go find. No, I'm joking. So yeah, this is that phase where like motivation is the lowest for me. Mainly because it's like, man, like I don't feel like, because it's just a no, it's just a whole nother. Because now you've went through the design phase. Now you have to color design. So like you want things to be looking, you want things to look nice together and not all be the same color. And so that was tricky. So I just came up with the idea to like, all right, I'll just try to use black and orange or something. So this started coming together kind of, and I just let everything else just be. I'd focus, like one day I would just focus on this table, right? That's what I did. And then the next day I would focus on like this spot. And then I would focus on this spot. And then I would focus on these. And I just like move to set from section to section. Like once I think the table looks okay, now I want this to look kind of the same, but not like I'm not thinking about things globally yet. I'm thinking about the local props, like what the prop color makeup is, I guess, for this. What like one like okay, how would I describe this actually? Yeah, I just go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll maybe go back to 2, then go back to 3, 4, go back to 3, go back to 4, 5, vice. You get what I mean? Like you just keep jumping back and forth, and that's what I pretty much did. So this stage is probably still to this day like my most stressful phase, besides like making the like for color. It's just stressful for me. I need to find a better way of planning these things out, because you can see like you got blue over here, orange, and then yellow. You got like a light blue ceiling with some green lanterns, and I don't know. So I went back into 3D to change some things. You could see like I've been trying to basically fill this space of this border around the room to make it a little bit more nicer to look at. I don't like having these long lines that have no design or anything like that. So yeah, I just tried to look for solutions to tackle that. So I put this little light right here, and this monitor and little desk on the side. Yeah. And this is where the colors started to kind of make sense for me. This is a pretty big jump actually, because I did like at this point, like the reason why there's such a big jump between this and this is because it's like, I don't even know if I'm going to like at this point, my motivation and confidence is so low that I don't even know, like I'm more focused on trying to make these things work than actually trying to take like to log it, like to have the progress shots. At this point I'm just not even thinking about that anymore. I'm like so dialed in on trying to make it work. And yeah, at this point like my confidence started going back up. I'm like, okay, maybe I can actually pull this off. Lighting is still definitely like one of the trickiest things for me though. I'm still figuring this out. I still don't know how I want to how I want to tackle it in the future. With these little frames here though, I never even put anything in these, and they're just there. I don't even know what they do. I just put them there to kind of break up the walls here, like this wall and that little spot over there. But you can see here again, like once it comes to those smaller details, things just start to like fall apart. Like when I sketched it, it looked a lot better to me than how it does now. So like this is kind of like use your imagination. Like think in terms of these batteries or whatever that are on these spaces. Like that's where things, I hate like having these small details where I can't really you just can't make out what certain things are. And then you have like this little, I don't know, when the details get that far, like that's when I was just thinking like, man, it would be nice to have a breakdown of these props that you can't really see, because to me this area right here looks pretty cool, but from the side you can't really see it. Like you can see this area, but you can't see what's back there that well. And I was like, man, like I have a really good idea for that. I wish I could do that, like clean that up, because I don't want to just upload this, you know what I mean? And same with this, like I wanted to redesign this thing. And just for like some of you guys probably already know because you've seen the thumbnail probably, if this is the thumbnail. But I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna take another camera, put it in front of this, and then render that out. And I was like, I know I can't do that for this spot and this spot, but I can do it for that. I'll just do that to just show that I'm capable of doing something like that. And what I do regret right now is not actually breaking down this, which was kind of the centerpiece of this whole thing. And another thing that worried me along the way doing this is that I don't know what it looks like on anyone else's monitors. Like, because I looked at this on one monitor and I had one of my old monitors that I had before FZD. Long story, like I said, but I dragged it over to that monitor and it looked so different. Like the saturation was just out of this world. It was out of this world. Like I was like, what the hell? This isn't even the same like thing. And I still don't know. I'm still kind of like sketched about it. But yeah, this is where things started to kind of, my confidence started to slowly go back up. Very slowly but surely. And then I changed it again. I just added some like, I guess smaller details, the shadows. I started adding more shadows and you know, like little scripts running on the computers. I thought that would be cool. Little graphics on the computers, yeah. And I tried this like texture over the whole thing. I don't think that looks well, but I figured it out later. Still didn't change anything here. I just kind of added a little bit more detail, like the lighting, what I like to call the rim light on objects. Like I just started adding the rim light on all this stuff. And here I just tried to make it darker because I showed it to my friend Satchet. I haven't, even now that I've I've pretty much finished it now, and now it's just a matter of like presentation. But like I showed it to my friend Satchet, and he did a pretty nice. My friend, dude, out of my friend group, I'm probably the worst when it comes to this. When it comes to the, what do we call them? Production shots, where like you have the backlighting and the fog and all that kind of stuff. I'm probably the worst at that in my friend group. So I had to like reach out to them and ask them how they tackled a lot of these things. And from what I asked them, like this helped me a lot. Because before he showed me that draw over, I was just like, okay, this is it. Like, like I was just like, fuck it. Like, because when you put in so much effort into designing all these things, you kind of have to, you want to show everything, but like there's a better way to do that than having everything equally lit. And even though it's not like, I'm still not 100% satisfied with a lot of the things in this, like maybe this screwdriver like handle or something, or like the colors in this fridge, or these right here, like that kind of stuff. You can even see like some of the edges aren't even like painted all the way. Like I admit, like I changed the colors or something like that, and then I think I even when I was working on this, I think I dragged the whole layer for the colors to the right, so I noticed everything was like kind of messed up. So I went and filled them in, and then like halfway in, I'm like, oh, I moved the whole layer. So now I tried to move it back, and then now they're all like painted off to the side again. So I was just like, okay, I'll just keep going and fix everything up again, and then next time I won't do that. Like I'll double check that. So yeah, this was like my first pass after he showed it to me. And then I just kind of, after I started understanding like the fog, because I left it at this stage for a while I added that new camera angle to show this area. I left it like this for a while. And then eventually I went back and added the fog and whatever you would call atmosphere. And this is where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just leave it here, because at this point I could just keep going on what I'm gonna add and change. And then right like before I made this video, I went back and added like a little light from a little bit more light from these two sources here, and from here to here, just to make it a little bit more I don't know, a little bit more like lit. I don't know what word I would say for that. So yeah, that was pretty much that. Let me see if there was anything else with this one. I don't think so. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the second piece, which is the one where I said I wanted to show like a smaller, like a lower level detail for, or no, a higher level breakdown of something that you couldn't see from that first shot. So that's where this shot came in. So I was like, okay, so if I took a camera right here and I started, like, I just took a screenshot from my Blender and I just started designing this out to make it look better. That would kind of set the mood for the rest of the different sections. Even though I didn't do them, at least you could imagine like maybe a little easier what they would look like. So I did that. I not to say like I did some crazy redesign or something, but I just wanted it to have a little bit more of an intimate. I always use this word, like an intimate read. Like you could see everything right there that you couldn't see in the first shot. And I would have loved, like, when I go back to this shot, I would have loved to do that for this section, the section behind this. Looking back at some of these colors for this food, some of that, that's crazy. But like the back section behind the drone itself, this and this section. But my God, that would have taken so long, especially when you're working as much as I was while I was dealing with some of this stuff. So yeah, it'll make a little bit more sense once I explain kind of what was going on in life while I was doing this shit, because it was, I think it definitely had a big impact on how things turned out. So yeah, I took this and I was like, okay, looks like a good start. You know, I just started breaking down the prop, moving certain things that didn't really make too much sense to me, like the crates, because if you can't really see it from this angle, but this crate is like halfway in the wall. So I didn't want it to be like that. So I just turned them sideways. What I do, change some light position so it's easier for me to draw over, because some things weren't reading. Like if you look at the bottom here, the edge wasn't really reading here. Same with some of the stuff right here. So I just changed the lighting a little bit. Added some more small props that I could draw over. And this is another thing that I do too now, that I'm glad that I do. Instead of devoting like an entire project to just drawing over basic 3D forms, I'll just add a few items into the shot that are basic 3D forms and then just draw over them like they were, blocked in 3D. Like I'll just take, like, say for example, this radio right here. I would just take that and just draw like a radio from it, or like, you guys will notice that later, I think. And I'll just test myself. Like, okay, I won't devote a whole project to it, but every now and then I'll just get more and more familiar with doing that. That way it doesn't scare me so much, and that I'm not so like hesitant to do it, because I feel like a lot of times when I do that, not only does it save the time of actually blocking it in 3D, but it's me teaching myself that it's okay for me to do that and not rely on 3D so much, because that's something that our teacher, Kingston, over at FCD, great teacher, man. That's something that he would always tell us, like towards the end of term 3, like the last term, he's like, man, you guys are relying on 3D way too much. Like we were getting roasted for that. Like just because like we were all just using assets from online, and that would be the end of it. It was kind of like you just take these assets. There were a few students that would learn to like kit bash things and like make it actually their own thing by adding parts that they make onto the thing and taking parts that were already there out. It's so much to the point where it's not even remotely recognizable. Like, but it would save you so much time. Like, you don't need to model your own wrench if there's a wrench, and you could just take that wrench and make it a part of something else, entirely. And this is something that some of my friends did really well. So yeah, just my classmates were. It was so interesting seeing everybody's different approach to designs. Like, there's this one classmate. Her name was Cookie, and like she had this. Well, we called her Cookie, but she had this tavern, and like the 3D compared to her like adding her drawing onto it was just like almost night and day. It was like once I started noticing that, that's when I started realizing like, okay, I need to start not being afraid to just actually draw and trust my ability to do that. So that's something. I mean, it's not like God. Like I didn't make God's gift from drawing it off of a basic model, but like I said, I'm refamiliarizing. Like I'm getting familiar with that idea. So yeah. Here I drew like some headphones. I just drew some headphones, some of the papers and stuff. And like I said, it doesn't look crazy. I don't know where this rag came from. I definitely took that out. But yeah, it was just, this was just to see like how things were feeling as far as the drawing went. I took these basic squares here. This was my idea of that. And I just kind of drew over them and made them into little boxes and stuff. And it's not like anything crazy, but like I said, it just familiarizing myself, or I don't know if I'm using that word right, but getting familiar with doing that. Same with these ones up here. Like I didn't block. I just used the basic squares and just drew something over them. They're not crazy. They're not like anything no one's ever seen before or something, some crazy shit. Like, cause every now and then I'll come up with that idea. Like I'll be like, man, I want to make something no one's ever seen. And then it's like, you don't have to do that with everything. Yeah. So yeah, I went back. So after doing that, I went back to 3D, added some more stuff. So you see, like everything in this picture I modeled with relatively basic shapes. I mean, these aren't crazy shapes, but for the wrench, I was just like, screw that, man. I would just add that in there. Like, I'm not about to model a wrench. I just do that. And then like from the radio, like I said, or in the headphones, I drew those in and just left it like that. The same with the remotes and the cigarettes and just like, who cares? Like, I was just like, man, just try to have some fun here. Don't have everything so overly structured and serious. I even started adding these like really fun, like not even taking it seriously at that point, just like graphics on the wall and stuff like that. Not crazy in perspective or not crazy in perspective, but like crazily designed or anything, but they're there. Like, wasn't trying to find like a photo or anything to photo bash it in. Like I was just trying to have fun, you know. And then here, so like here with the draw over, I just kind of increased the detail a little bit, like adding these sticky notes. Sticky notes was what I used with this project to just break up any shape that I didn't like. Like I added it on the toolbox, I added it on these straight lines here. And then for these, I added like some small graphics. This is something that me and Satchit were talking about before. And you guys hear me bring up Satchit a lot because like I'm telling you, like working on this stuff, I was just so embarrassed, man. Like I felt like I was completely out of my element. Like I was just like, man, I am not doing another sci-fi thing ever. But then towards the end of it, I was like, man, I could probably do that again. Like there's a lot to be learned there. And like I said, just getting more familiar with doing that and stepping out of that comfort zone and trying to learn stuff. So like with these, like I'll show you guys what he was talking about, like and it wasn't only Satchit. Of course my other friends Evan and Jerome brought this up too, but when it comes to like sci-fi, because we would watch movies sometimes, right? Like we'd watch movies every now and then, like these sci-fi movies or something, and like we'd notice like how some movies would do sci-fi things right, because the thing FZD taught us, we know how to identify things like that too, like why designs might not work pretty quickly too. Like even though we might not be able to find the solution, like it'll take us a while to find a solution ourselves, but we can definitely see when it's not working. And so can someone who didn't have like some kind of school training. It's just they probably won't know why. They'll be like, oh man, that looks really weird. But like to us, we know most of the time with, I'd say like 80% accuracy, maybe like 65, you know what I'm saying? But like you can usually tell why things aren't working. And sometimes it's because things aren't recognizable. Like I say, like the laptop with the drawing tablet, like without the drawing tablet, it's really hard to see that the person's like an artist. I mean, of course you can have other things like sketchbooks and drawing books and paints and crayons or some shit. But like without these recognizable, relatable items, it's hard to tell what something is being used for. like even in this case, like even now with all of this stuff I added, it's hard to tell what these things are used for until I started adding the little graphics saying battery and stability and all these little icons saying like on off, and the electricity warning panels and the knobs, you know, all these things, and then the plugs. It's like things start making sense. Like, okay, this is probably like some kind of battery power, like it manages some kind of battery power or something like that, or electricity output. You know, who knows? So it's like once you start adding things like that, like imagine if you just took away all the graphics, like all the things saying battery and that's literally what this is. Like imagine if you took away all those things. It's like, okay, what even is this? You know, sometimes you just need those graphics to like give you little crumbs here and there to what it's being used for. And sometimes that comes in the place of like graphics. Sometimes it comes in the form of not in the place, in the form of graphics, in the form of props, in the form of characters. That's just how it is. It's like, think of those things like in Fallout, for example. I use Fallout for some reason a lot in this video, but like, you know, in Fallout when you go to a place, right, and you're like, I wonder what happened here, and you find an audio log, and it like explains what was going on before maybe you got there, like 200 years ago or some shit. Then it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then you start seeing the signs that like hint towards that. It's like those the signs are the crumbs, and the audio log is like that big prop that solidifies whatever it's being used for. I hope that makes sense. It's like, I'm not the best at explaining some of these things, man, but like I hope you guys understand that. Like, so yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of you guys probably do, but if you don't, it's probably because I'm not explaining it right. There's a reason why I'm not a teacher. Okay. So yeah, I just started going back in. I added cables and stuff because I thought that was fun, and went back into 3D, added some more like small stuff down here, and yeah, just. And then this is where my confidence again drops off the Mount Everest, dude. Like, my confidence is completely low here because like this is where again I was looking at different monitors, and the saturation was completely different on both of them. So yeah, I was just trying to figure out like how I'm gonna color things and like what the colors are gonna be in relation to this. So I was looking at this, and I was noticing some colors that I used that I didn't like. So I kind of recolored a few things here, but for the most part I kept it almost the same, with the exception of this, like this and that, and yeah, the color scheme for this was not, I don't think this was doing it for me. I think I changed that, and then I just added some more caution, like the caution signs into color. You can see I was just trying to break down things as much as I could. So here I added some more graphics that supported like the battery. So like the stability. So these were like each monitor is monitoring the stability of each battery, and the batteries are powering the different workstations, right? So this is the terminal. So this is the terminal for this kind of section, pretty much. Like a visual indicator of what's going on behind these doors. Like, of course, you can go and open the doors and like change them. Like, you can flip the switch, but these monitors are what show you exactly what that switch is doing, pretty much. So yeah, you have the battery stability levels here, and then you have the overall stability probably being shown here. And I added more sticky notes because like I was just running out of shit to like add that could break the forms. And I was gonna add like a drawing, like a blueprint drawing on here, but I kind of ran out of time because I knew I wanted to do something else too. I wanted to break down the prop that I have here and one of these monitors. They're all kind of different, but I just wanted to break down one of these. So yeah, I just started rushing on this pretty quick. I started adding basic lighting, and here I was like, I don't even know where to take it from here. Like, for me, like everything was oversaturated almost. And while I do like saturated stuff like this, like I didn't want the yellow to be so like there's like the lighting is it's evenly lit everywhere. That's what someone told me. I don't know if it was Jerome Satchett or Evan, but I think they brought up something like that, and I was just like, oh okay. So I just started changing. I just changed the lighting almost completely and adjusted some of the saturation levels, and it just hit. It just kind of clicked with me here. So this is kind of where this one ended up being, and that was that. So I just left it at this, and I thought that was enough to break down that section without me having to do too much more. Let me see if I change anything else. Okay, so yeah, I did change like a little bit. So this is how it was, and then I changed it to be a little darker. So this, and then just brought in the darkness on the sides a little bit. Okay, so now we have the last thing. So with let me see. So my idea was to take this thing and try to paint over the 3D model, right? Which did not come out nearly as good as I thought it would. Like, I'm gonna bring it up real quick because I don't want to spoil what I ended up doing in the end too much. Where is it? Open. Okay, just 1 second. You can see my Photoshop is chugging right now. Jesus. Okay. Man. Man. You know what? Actually, it's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought. Okay, so my idea basically was to take this 3D render, right? It was an Eevee. I think I had one in, I haven't figured out how to render things in 3D too well yet, but I basically blocked this thing in, and I was just going to paint over it to make it look a little different. Let me see if I can find the cycles render I did for it. I remember also showing this to my friends, and like they were like, that's the thing too. Sometimes I get delusional, right? Where like I'm gonna show this to my friends, their minds are gonna be blown. I'll get this idea in my head that I'm just gonna make something so cool. They're like, how you do that? That rarely happens in reality, guys. Like but okay, it happens, but just not as often as you would want it to happen, right? So like I showed it to them, and they didn't seem that like. Not to say that they said it was bad, but it's what people don't say sometimes. You get what I mean? Like I showed it to them, and like they were just like, "Oh," it's like, "All right, I'm going back to the drawing board. Fuck this." Like so, I think I showed them. Here, let me see. So I took it from this, and I kind of just painted over, and made it look like this. Of course, this is like okay. It's not. This feels like it's more of a beginning than the end. You know what I mean? But I don't have the workflow yet to make this work. Like I didn't add any graphics to it yet. I didn't add any higher level details to it. I just felt like I was completely out of my element, because these are things like there's details and whatnot that I would add with my line work, and I just wasn't able to do that because I felt like I couldn't do that because I didn't have lines. So like this is something I have to revisit in the future, but it doesn't look crazy bad, but I wasn't a fan of it, and I've probably done a lot of changing over from where I first showed my friends, because my boys, because it was like, dude, this thing looked like yeah okay, so there are some fixed layers that I did over it. I think it looked more like this. It doesn't look, oh shit, it doesn't look that different, right? But like, I don't know. I started going and making like some of the lines thicker and just closer to what I would do like if it was a line drawing. So I did that, and then I tried to do that with the monitor, and this is where the fucking I was like, oh hell nah. Like I just didn't like it, man. Like it just felt like way different from what I would do with line work, and I just didn't want it to leave it like that. So what I did was I took the so here, let me open this back up. So I took the Eevee rendering and I did a quick line render for it. So that's where you can all right, so with Blender you can make, it's called freestyle, right? You can render your edges to make it look like it was drawn, but I don't like to do that. What I usually do is I'll do something like this and then clean it all up and then draw from there. So instead of like, say for example, all these straight edges, like I usually go and like erase this whole thing, right? And then I'll just draw it myself, and it adds that it stops it from being so straight, but there's some edges that you wouldn't mind being straight, you know what I mean? So I go and take this and I make it into this. So like I said, you can almost barely even tell in some places, but I go and do a draw over and at this point I was feeling it a lot more already than I was with the other one. The only thing that I didn't like was this handlebar, this like pull out thing. I did not like that at all. So like I just took that out. So in the next one, you see like I completely took it out. At this point, I've added my base colors, and I was just completely redesigning this thing pretty much. And God knows I wanted to do this for every prop in that damn room, but I just don't have the time to do that. Like at this point, like it's getting close to like 8 months since I've started this thing, and even though I haven't been working on it like consistently those whole 8 months, I've put well over like 100 hours easily. Well, maybe even 200. Honestly, I could be pushing 200 because for the past like few weeks since I went part time at my day job or whatever, whenever I don't have, well, okay, that's something for later, but whenever I have the time to work on these things, that's when I work on them. Like if I don't have anything else to do that day, I work on these for 8 hours. I try to hit 8 hours a day for those like 3 days or 4 days that I'm not working at the date, like the grocery store or whatever. So those 4 days, it's either I'm doing my other job, or if things are paused at the other job, I'll just work on these all day until the 8 hours passes, or unless I'm really having a bad day with this shit, like then I'll stop. But this is where I went, and I felt I still till right now I feel pretty good about this. So then I went and just kind of added a little bit more, I guess, character to it, as I usually would. And where does this one go? Yeah, again, just more character. Let me see. Yeah, tried some different lighting things, but eventually I went back on part of that. Added in some like goofy graphics. I didn't really want to like I didn't want to like go like too ham on it, but I just did the same thing I pretty much did with the with this room right here. I didn't want to like actually write shit out or have any graphics in it. It's just not my style. Like for me, it just feels weird. It's much more fun for me to like look at something and try to draw it in like that and just call it a day. So I started doing that here and here, and it felt right. So I just left it like that. I was just like, man, whatever. So eventually I started doing the same thing for the other props. So you could see with the line work, I'm way more comfortable here than I am with like the render that I had before this. Like if you look at this, like this feels way more natural for me than this. I don't know what the fuck. So yeah, I have so many windows open, I don't even know what's going on right now. Okay. Close that. I can close that one. I can close this one. Okay. Where else? Okay. So like I was saying, so I did the baseline work over the prop itself. So the base 3D prop was let me see, this. So this is how it looks on its own, and I just kind of added in what I could in 3D, and then from there I just went straight to 2D, added some more stuff to it. And I made sure to reference like some of these because I was forgetting like how this thing looked. So I added in the color, the base color. Started just going from there, just taking my time. And this was actually a lot more fun and like streamlined. It felt like, because after I finished the whole like second camera, the second camera view, like this one, I kind of had an idea of how I wanted things to look. So yeah, I just took that, started adding. This is the freestyle. I didn't really like how straight, like the way freestyle does things. It's like so rigid, and I can't be bothered to like go and sometimes like if it's something like really big, like okay, if I'm trying to get something done really fast and I want to get into rendering really quickly, that's the only time I'll use freestyle for it, like fully. But when it comes to like these like edges right here, your model has to be so much more like your curves has to have more sections in it. Like it can't be it needs to be smoothed out. It can't be like that. So whenever I draw it like over, I just smooth stuff like that out. And it just kind of adds that human touch, man. Like I don't want my lines to all look super straight. You can see like right here, like this line is easy to like. It's I don't know. It just depends. I do it mostly on like feeling. Like if it feels like it's too straight, I'm gonna want to do something to like not have it like that. So fuck, I've been talking for a long time, man. So, and then here we are now with the renders. So this page, this is my prop page so far. I think I'm leaving it like this, but right now, the first thing that pops out to me is that there's a lot of shit going on. So I have to simplify this pretty deep. Like I have to, well, not deep. Oh, these analogies, man. I have to simplify this layout a little bit because it seems like there's a lot of background stuff going on. So I might just slow that down a little bit. But yeah, this is where the prop is now, and that's how it looks. I just, like I said, it just has a bunch of different graphics on it that I thought looked cool, and I wasn't trying to make them perfectly in perspective or anything like that. But yeah, I added in some fun notes, like to maybe give the viewer like an idea of what kinds of notes would be on these sticky notes, and then for these like little graphical things, I just made bigger versions of them because I thought that would be cool if like you could see what kind of warnings were on the machine. And some of them kind of have like little like I guess nerd ass jokes like caution, not good, don't find out why. Like I don't know. Like I said, the little drawer that I changed to be like a lockable tool drawer, and this was like the key that you would put in there. I was thinking like this little panel right here could be, you flip it up and you can pull out like with the handle, like this long, this long battery that would, I guess you could maybe, the easiest way that I could say it looks like is like a P90 clip, like this long heavy battery that you pull out of it. But like if it were in a game, you know, you could like, you flip open this thing, you pull this battery out. It's like reloading a gun almost, but like, because everyone knows like sometimes when it comes to guns, reloading is like the coolest thing. But you know, you flip this panel open and you just shove this big battery in there, pause, and then you know you just see the power just start to flicker on. And maybe if you wanted to add a little bit more stylized to like make it more stylized, you know, you could you flip that panel open, and then once you push that battery in there, you see the little LEDs start to come from this direction. Like they start flickering on from here, from right to left. So you can see the power just like coming on, and it's like, and you hear all the little buttons, like the little fans on the inside come on. It's like when I turn on my laptop and then I click Photoshop, and you can hear the fan inside of my laptop start to scream. It's like, yeah, like it's kind of like that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this prop, man. Like, and like, mind you, when I was painting it at first, I was just like, okay, if you look at this, I was like so out of my, like, I don't know what happened, but like, I don't know, guys. I'm thinking I really like Sci-Fi. Like, now I'm just like, man, I can't wait to do it again. I think my next project, though, is going to be more on the chill side. I don't want it to be so extreme because, like I said, when it comes to pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, when it comes to design especially, it's like you're going to be so out of your element that you won't know what your next steps are. And if you forget why you're doing that in the first place, you'll just want to quit. And I was so close, man. I was so close because all the stress from everything else, like when I was working on this, it wasn't relaxing at a lot of times. And that's why, like, when it came to, adding in the layout, like, I was just trying to have fun with it. I didn't even care if it wasn't like the best looking layout, or like when it came to like the stickers on the walls and stuff. Like, I was just trying to have a little fun, man. Like, it was just like whatever. Like, if it looks weird, it looks weird. Who cares? Like, I had fun with it. Hopefully this showcases that I can design some things like that. And yeah, so like with this one, I didn't really explain what things do here, but basically these are like little charging stations for the for this whole thing. So that, like, outgoing charging, so like you could plug like I don't know, like a portable battery into it, or like charge different kinds of equipment from around the room. And they all have different plugs to show that, like, they're probably being used for different, being used for different kinds of machines. Who knows? Maybe you can even pull them out and put adapters in them, to make them change. And that just came from the simple thing that I had when I first went to Singapore. I had this charging thing that you could plug in, and it turns out, this blew my mind at the time, but now it kind of makes sense, I guess. It turns out every country pretty much has, like, well, not every country, but for the most part, there's a lot of different kinds of plugs. And people, I don't know why, but like your typical US American plug is not that common overseas. So, of course, and vice versa. So that was kind of the inspiration with that. And I got like a little bar, like serial number thing on there, and just having fun, man. I was just not trying to be like, towards the end, I was just trying to have fun, and if that for better or worse, it's just like whatever. Like, I'm not trying to put some fancy text. I just wrote that shit, man. I was just like, man, whatever. Like, I've done the hard part. Like, now I just want to chill out. Like, I drew a key on there. I drew the little signs. I drew the sticky notes, and added in the little pop-out graphics on the laptop, or not the laptop, the thing. And the biggest challenge for this, though, was just having the different colors. Like, I didn't want it to all be one color, or like two colors or three colors like this one was. And whenever I wasn't working on these, like, I'd be at work just thinking, like, man, what am I gonna do to make this thing look more interesting? And I think I found that solution, which was just kind of making. I just had to go section by section and choose, like, see what was working, what wasn't. Not saying this is some God's gift or whatever, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with where it is right now, and getting ready to upload it on ArtStation once I organize. I don't know if I want to put some of my early sketches on there. I'm not gonna lie, like, that shit was rough, but it's part of the process. And like with people being more skeptical of how you come with certain designs, I think I might even do some more sketches for like different ways I tackle this prop. And let me explain some more stuff too. So this thing's pretty much like the HUD of the whole like section, so, or the whole bunker area. So like this thing manages. This is where you can see like the person has like the data that they get from like running diagnostics or something with the drone, and performance levels. You can see even the battery status level things here. The battery, like the whole let me see. So like whatever's going on behind these panels, you could see that being displayed there, as far as like even the brightness of the lights and the like everything. This is like the control panel basically. And then on the inside you have this like this toolbox type lock drawer, so you can pull this thing out and you can just imagine a bunch of tools shaking in there when you move it. You have the vents coming out with the different LED lights that you can activate for this thing. It's just fun stuff. I wasn't trying to make anything like crazy. All right, so just had a bit of a time skip, if you will. So yeah, what was that? I don't know what I was talking about, because the first half, I guess, was yesterday, and I just figured I'd restart from where I left off like another time, because at that point my voice is just starting to give out. But yeah, since my last video, of course a lot of stuff has happened. I've been dealing with, getting my license, which I did. I got my driver's license finally. I got a car. Nothing crazy. It's like the whole thing when it came to looking for cars is like I didn't really have any resources or like anyone to help me really look for it. I was in this weird position where like everyone was willing to give advice, but like no one was really like, people were like, oh, you should do this, and then like when you go to do that, it's like, oh, it's up to you, like if you want to do that. And it's like, I don't know, I guess I'm just usually people have family members that can help, like, who knows a guy who can like get you a decent car or whatever. But that just wasn't really the case for me. Like I couldn't really go to family to look for me to help me look for the damn car. So it wasn't anything like my car isn't anything crazy. It's a and I didn't know this was a stereotype. Apparently this is a stereotype or something, but it's a Lincoln Town car. It's like 2004. Thing is in really good condition. I like it a lot, and it's runs pretty well. It's funny I said that right before I just dropped it off at a shop today, actually, to get some work done on it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's just, as far as working with everything, like it's like every decision I'm making almost is in relation to me getting a job in the industry eventually. And it's the sacrifices you kind of have to make. It's like when I was working full time at any job, I was making sure I didn't spend money if I didn't have to. Like if it wasn't something that I needed, most of the time I wouldn't even go for wants. It was just like, I need to save up money so when I have that window, I have a decent amount of time to focus on concept and building my portfolio a bit, applying to different places. And that meant, not getting a lot of things, of course, that I wanted. And now that I'm like in that window, now it's like, well, your income, of course, because now I'm part-time at the grocery store, which is like, thank God. I hate, like, literally people at grocery store, like the average customer is fucking nuts. I have so many stories. I wouldn't say the average customer. Most people are pretty chill. But man, it's like, yeah, it's, man, I don't even know where to start with that, honestly. But yeah, ever since I went part-time there, after I got my car and whatnot, now I'm actually moved out, and I have two flatmates. One, the friend of the family that I was staying with, and another friend that we've known for a while who's in the same area. And yeah, it's just now I have a lot more expenses than I had before, so I have to, with me being part-time, there's kind of like a fire under my ass to make sure that I do things right. Like it's it'd be a very stressful situation to be in if I didn't have like the discipline not to spend money on stupid shit. Like, for example, like what's something that I wanted that I just didn't buy? I don't know. There's so many things, dude. Like I like actually like shoes. You know, you want shoes sometimes, like new shoes, uh, clothes. Like I've barely bought clothes since I got back from Singapore actually, and it's like it's just shit like that. Like because I know that I'm gonna need the money later. So like I essentially just don't. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I swear to God, like it's there's so many things. And like I said, I'm 25, dude. I'm still figuring all these things out. Like I know that I'm on a timer now, so I don't want to get any more expenses that I don't really need. And yeah, it's been really tricky managing that because now I'm on uh, on a part time income, right? So of course my spending has to be like I have to be on top of it, of course. And not only that, like I am working with that studio, this company that I found before. For some of you guys who's like seen on my like art station or something like that, you'll see what company that is. When I first started working with them, I guess they had a pretty big project at that time. So for about 2 or 3 months, maybe even 4 months, honestly, I was working essentially like 40 hours at the grocery store and then 20 hours with this company. And I didn't want to, because I wasn't with them like as an official like designer or artist on their team. It was more like a freelance position. So that means that like your work is gonna be, it's gonna fluctuate. Sometimes you're gonna have a lot of work and sometimes you're gonna have a little work. That's kind of just the nature of being a freelancer, right? So what I would do is like say I work 11 to 7 at the grocery store. I'd wake up around like 6, 7 in the morning. And this was before I got my car too. So like I was still like catching a ride to work or whatever. So I would I would wake up around like fucking like 6, 7 in the morning, work for that company, like do work for that company until I went to work. And then when I would come home, I would try to relax. The only time I would work when I got home is if like I left off in a spot that I didn't really solve. I hate to stop work when I'm stuck, right? Like it's like I want to come back or but it does benefit. Like there's a huge benefit to stopping like when you're in a rut because sometimes you just have to take some time away from it to think outside the box or whatever. But yeah, I would only work after being at the grocery store if it was something that needed to be like turned in soon. So I've learned a lot, like as far as that goes, just dealing with different kinds of directions, I guess, or different ways that people give directions. There's obviously, you know, any job or company is gonna have some negatives, some more than others. um, but but yeah, when you guys apply for places, definitely try to look at their Glassdoor if that's available. Me myself, like right now things are slowed down. So the thing is, like for those few months, work was pretty consistent. It was like, man, like if I your boy was bringing in bank too. I mean, 40 hours at the store and then 20 hours plus. Like, dude, I was McBallin'. but now I'm like I'm chilling. Like it's just there's not a lot of work right now. So and this happened literally right after I went part time at the store because I was just saying like, yo, I won't be able to. I know I won't be able to keep this up, and like everyone's telling me like you're burning the candle at both ends, you know. So I didn't want that to be like the case. Obviously, like you don't. Who wants to work like 60 hours a week? Like that's not fun. But and then the thing is, like on my days that I had off from the grocery store, I'd pretty much work like almost that whole day, if that makes sense. So yeah, and then like so the second I went part time at the store, that's when things started slowing down like a lot. Like I'm talking like you go from about, I want to say, the possibility of like 20 hours a week to maybe like 5. Like, because the whole situation is like when, if you're waiting on feedback, or there's some kind of problem on the back end where they can't get back to you as soon as you normally would be able to, that's time that you're just sitting there waiting. And of course, you don't want to be like in the dark just doing whatever. So during those times, that's when I would actually start on the personal project again, and just keep chipping that down. And that's the kind of the situation I'm still in, like 2 months later. So what I'm considering right now is just after I put this project out, just hard focus on applying to places, and work on some smaller projects. This was actually supposed to be a really small project, just one interior, but like after putting so much effort into things, it becomes really hard not to elaborate on certain things that you know would look really cool. Like for example, this thing, like there's so many other machines in that room that I think would of course benefit from having, a prop breakdown. Like I was even thinking about going further than this and actually showing, like how if you get like furniture or something like that, or like something that you have to assemble, usually there's instructions that show what panels open and like what cable goes into what socket. Like I was thinking about doing something like that even. I thought that would be really cool, but of course it takes so much time. And essentially right now, since I'm working only 3 days a week at the store, I mean, like whatever cushion I have as far as money that I've saved up it's going down, but not as fast as it could be because of that, like that small amount of money that I'm getting from the grocery store now. So it's like my responsibility to like be on top of my game. I'm like on top of my stuff, because of course you don't want to, hit zero and then like it's like, oh, I got to go back full time, which is what would happen if I essentially did, get work by then. But yeah, it's really weird too, like the situation when it comes to applying for jobs. And apparently that's like across the board, like that's the situation across the board for like a lot of different jobs. And it's really weird because like, I mean, you see these postings and like you would feel like you're qualified, right? And like when you don't, I mean, obviously there's always going to be someone out there that knows more than you, that might be able to use more programs than you, right? Of course, like that's especially for a remote job. Like when you're local, I feel like it's a little different because local talent, I mean, is like if you can get someone that can come in office, that's going to be 10 times better. But well, not necessarily 10 times. You guys get what I'm saying. Like it's like proximity is probably the best thing you could have if you're working with a company, because you can come in and honestly, that's where anyone would want to be. It's like in studio, you get to talk to your coworkers, you learn shit every day, and like that's like the ideal situation. Because as a freelancer, man, like depending on the company and how they run it and stuff like that, like from my experience at least, you're usually in the dark. Like and this isn't even like a game company, this is like a fabrication company for like theme park type stuff, so once your work is done, like you don't get any kind of update on like what needs to be done next, or like what can be done to make the design better. Usually it's just like you put the work in, like you get your feedback and that's it. I mean, every now and then you could probably get some praise if that's something like people wonder about, like they'll be like, oh, this is really good, like. But I'm so glad that in FCD it kind of desensitized us in a way, like when it comes to feedback, because like some students in my class, dude, like made some kick-ass work, man. And like Kingston or like our teacher would be like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. Like that's it. Like no one's gonna be like, oh man, you're fucking cracked out. Like that's usually not how that plays out. Yeah, and like of course there's also going to be like different ways of art direction. Like what I've noticed is like it seems like my art, like the way I'm directed for art and design, is a lot different from a lot of different places. And like sometimes I join discords and people say like this is how their art director talks, like and gives directions and stuff. So it's always going to be different as far as that goes. Some are like, mine just happens to be a lot more independent of an art director, compared to a lot of other cases I've seen, which has definitely its ups and downs. My God, it's like sometimes you're the only one on the boat, and you aren't even a captain. You get what I mean? Like you're like the guy fishing off the side of the boat, and like yo, where'd the captain go? you know. But yeah, it's definitely been an experience so far, and I'm just hoping that, or I'm looking forward to, I would say, because I think it's inevitable that I'll get work eventually. But that's not to say like I will get that if I don't work my ass off. Like I've already done that. Like, but I guess it just I know where I fall short, and if you asked any of like my friends or anything like that, like they'd probably tell you the same thing. Like I just don't apply enough. I put in the work for portfolio like there's no tomorrow, but like when it comes to actually applying to places, that's where I kind of fall short. And I think it's mainly due to like a confidence issue, if I'm being honest. Like because there's been so many times where I've applied to small like companies or whatever, where I felt like I had a really good chance of getting in, or getting at least an interview or something, and then it turns out like you don't get any like what's it called, like, dude, you don't get anything back actually. Like sometimes you don't until like a few months later. Sometimes you do like within a couple days. It varies a lot, but like when you applied to, or at least I'll use myself in this case, right? Like when I applied to these studios that I think I have a decently high chance of getting into, and they don't respond, like that makes me think like, okay, well, if this AAA or AA studio, if this indie small studio didn't accept me, like why would this AAA or AA well-known company take me in? And I feel like that's usually I feel like that's a pretty logical conclusion, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't hurt to put the applications in. This is something that I struggle with like so bad. It's like I have let me see. I have a Google Doc of like, let me see, 116 studios that I've saved. And usually when I apply on them, like I'll put the date that I applied. And it's just like when you've gone through that many studios, it's just, I don't know. It's not the most encouraging process, if I could say that. Like it's very, I don't know, man. Maybe I don't have the IQ to explain this precisely. But like I swear to God, it's like my boys, like they always say like, just we have this thing, just apply and forget. But like I will think about that shit in my sleep. I'll wake up wondering if I get it. Like literally when I'd be at the grocery store, like I'd apply to places in the morning, and the next day, like I'm like checking out a customer or something, like on the register. I'm not like checking like the you guys probably weren't even thinking that, and I just fucked myself. Anyways, like I'm checking this customer out from the register, and my phone will vibrate, and I'll be like, oh shit, like I know that's an email. And then I go to check, and it's like I like, not while I'm checking them out obviously, but like there'll be like no work or whatever right at that time. I'll like go to the restroom, and I'll check my phone real quick and see like 3 emails that come at the same time, because I applied to like these studios within the same time frame, right? And they'll be like, unfortunately, you're not him. I'm like, all right, bro, like what you want me to do, man? Like and then it's like, okay, well, it just you kind of, I don't know. And then so there's that, I'd be at work, so just thinking I know that like I know 100% that like I would always think about these things. Like some people tell me like I overanalyze, and like I think it could be like a defense mechanism or some shit. I don't know, but like I'll be at work and I'll be so deep in thought about like what can I do on my next portfolio piece, or like I wonder like how are some better ways that I can find studios to apply to, and like I would like literally give people the wrong change, like consistently. Like this, I recently I've gotten a lot better at it. I've never really been a good cashier because of stuff like that. Like I'd always be thinking like I'm physically there, but I'm mentally just like in another state. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's just it becomes hard for me to focus because I'm thinking about that so much. And I swear it's like almost like who you know, man. I've seen some studios like where like I've seen some studios where like, I'm like, how the fuck did this guy get in this studio? Like, yo, hello, like, can I call this guy and like, yo, bro, can you get me in there? like how? Like, what do you? What's the secret? It's like my big brother. He was telling me like, oh, it's who you know, not what you know. Like, and I was just like, fuck you. And then like in my mind, if I told him that to his face, he'd beat my ass. But I'd just be thinking like, nah, man, no way. Now though, like now, actually, I literally think it's about who you know. It's I would say it's a big chunk. Like maybe, and that can maybe tie into luck or whatever. Who knows? My luck stat has. Well, when I went to FCD, I'd say my luck stack was pretty high, but like now it's kind of, I do have more experience now though, that I can put on my portfolio, which is great. That's a good feeling. That's a good start, you know. And I of course things take time. We have to remember that the ship isn't gonna sail full speed the second you get in it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like and the ways that I find studios, of course, like the more you do it, the better you'll be at finding them. But it's like I've like even in my friend groups, like they'll send, you know, studio job postings that around like my friend Satchet, he always sends studio like studios that are hiring, and that guy applies like there's no fucking tomorrow. I don't know why. Like, I mean, I know why, but it's like, man, if I did that, my brain would just bust in half or something. I don't know why I said fucking hell. Yeah, but like, I've tried a lot of different ways of finding studios. Like, you can go through Steam and look at games, and then just look at what studio made the game and published it. You can go to, you know, work with indies. You got LinkedIn. Sometimes I don't even know if LinkedIn. You know what? Like LinkedIn, I swear to God, people just post shit just. All right, I'm gonna try to stay on track, man. You can try ArtStation. You can try ZipRecruiter. Like all these. It's just like it's all feels like the same thing. Like you apply and it's like I don't know. I just the whole applying thing. That's my next thing to tackle. Like that's probably my biggest weakness right now, and like I said, it's the next step for me is just applying more and being more consistent with that, and yeah, and just endurance, man. Like I can probably look. Like the crazy part is I can work on my project and just watch movies while I do that, and like, you know, get a decent amount of work done. But like it's like with looking at studios, it's completely opposite. It's like you have to be. I mean, you can listen to a podcast or something while you do it, but for the most part, it's like sometimes I'll put in like a couple hours and it's like I have nothing to really show for it. I could like what I usually do is like even if the studio isn't hiring at that time, I'll add the studio to my checklist, or like not checklist, like Google Sheets. But it's like if they're not, I don't know, if they're not like actively looking for something, like I can always check back at the thing and like see if they're hiring now and send an application in later. But that whole thing is just, yeah, it's kind of tricky. But yeah, yeah, that's the situation I'm in right now. Just trying to budget a little bit better. Uh, I'm not even the budgeting type of person, if I'm being honest. Like I just try to spend less. Like now when I get lunch, I probably spend like $6. I'll get like a salad or something, and like that's it. I'm literally like eating ramen and making sandwiches, dude. Like how much more do I have to give? I don't know. Like ever since I like moved into this apartment, I've just been, I whenever I buy things to eat, it's like between ramen, and I don't eat like the normal ramen. Like I'll get some of like the Korean ramen, the like the one with the bird on it. It's like a white chicken or something like that. It's like something. So I don't know what the brand is called, but they have like different colors. Like there's a pink one, there's a orange one, there's a white one, there's like a white pink one. I don't think it's white. It's like white pink. Completely irrelevant, but I just felt like I had to elaborate on that shit. I don't know why, but yeah, yeah, I gotta learn some more ways or some more things to cook. It's like being in college all over again in a way. Like not college, but like when I was in Singapore, I think that's the closest I've been to like. No, I think this is the closest I've been to independence. But yeah, like it's like I'm not too worried about things financially because like I have really good spending habits. I don't like that's something I can absolutely trust myself not to do is like go and splurge on like stupid shit. Like I know I can budget if I have to, and I'm okay with like if I okay, worst come to worst, like I could just take on a like okay, worst case scenario, right? Let's just say that uh the money that I have to the side runs out. It's been a couple months, maybe like 2-3 months. And in that point, like if I still haven't found anything yet, I just go back to being full time and the cycle continues. Like I start saving up again. And during that time, I can still apply. During that time, I can still work on personal projects. Nothing changes. Like I am gonna pursue this shit to the end of. I will listen, you guys. I will be making videos for as long as I am drawing. Like I might not be like the most consistent uploader, but I just want you guys to know like I'm there. Like I do not like I just don't like uploading when I have nothing to talk about. Like I have things to talk about now. Of course, it's been 7 months, but like um I don't know. I just meant honestly, like I always say, I just feel these things are important. Life skills, budgeting, managing your money, especially if you don't have a lot of family that can financially support you, is very fucking important. It's like your HP bar. If you were playing like a video game, your money is pretty much like your HP bar in a lot of ways. Like once you run out of that shit, like you need to like double down or something. Um, so and it's like buying games and like all that kind of stuff. I've been probably playing the same games over. I've played Mordhau, Pathfinder, Kingmaker, Celesta. That's a game I was playing. 76, Fallout 76. Every now and then, I had to uninstall that shit because the 160 gigs. Yeah, nah. I play single player Tarkov because it's more casual. I was thinking about playing PvE Tarkov a little bit too, on the official client, but it's just not as customizable. You know what I mean? But yeah, like that's my entertainment. And that's as far as it goes. Like I don't spend a lot of money. And I'm eating pretty much like shit. so we'll see. We'll see how things go. Hopefully, I'll have another video coming up soon though. But it's really just I need to apply more, man. And that's my next step here. I've put in the work, as far as I know, I've put in the work, and I need to actually support that with actually putting myself out there and applying. So yeah, that's my next thing, and I was thinking about the. Well, I don't think I would want to stream because I can say some pretty stupid shit. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed that cut like 30 minutes ago, but I said some pretty stupid shit I had to cut out. I was like, hey, I can't upload this shit. Like, I was just like, nah. I'll actually cut this and then just do a different take or something because I was hot. Listen, I'm hot right now. But like in my room, it's hot. It's hot in my room. God damn it. Um, so yeah, physically, there's a lot of things that I want to pursue after. Like once things get more stable, like I'm thinking. I feel like I'm always thinking like a few years ahead instead of like present. You know what I mean? Like I'm. Whenever coworkers like at work ask me if like I want to go out for the weekend or something like that. It's like I'm literally thinking like, nah, man, I should probably go home and work on my portfolio and get this shit out the way. Or like I'm thinking like, oh, I should probably save that money and like save it for when I'm gonna be part time because I knew it was gonna happen sooner or later. Like, especially being with my friend's family where they were only charging me like 200 a month to stay there. Like, why would I not be saving my money? Like, because that's a blessed situation to be in, man. Honestly, like I was able to save up so much money from that, and now that's what I'm sitting on to try to see this through. So, and of course, I have to like adjust how much money I'm spending. And really, like before, like when I was staying with them, I'd probably spend a little bit more money, but now it's like okay, like I have to be on top of this shit because my income. I have a 2 week check, and it's under $1,000. Actually, it's like around, I would say, 580 maybe, every 2 weeks, man. So that shit's tight. Okay. Um. Yeah. So what was I about to say? Yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to do outside of concept that I'm just I have like to the side right now. Like, I'd like to get a bike, honestly, so I can bike around instead of walking. I feel like biking is just it's quicker. You can go further. It's more enjoyable in my opinion. Like you can bike. I don't know if people bike on the sidewalks though. For some reason, every time I see a bicycle, like they're in the street. Why the fuck? Sorry. This is another thing too. I think I need to stop cursing in these videos, man. Cause like, if someone goes to my art station and they go to my YouTube, they're gonna think I'm batshit crazy. Like actually, I don't know. Maybe it depends on the recruiter. Okay, maybe I D20 that shit and I don't roll bad. My RNG just helps me on who sees it. Hopefully they have a sense of humor. Am I right? Like if they don't, I'm screwed. But yeah, I'd like to get a bike and put some more burn some more calories daily. I have this thing with my roommate where or my flatmate where we try to up each other's steps, which is pretty. That helps with staying active. Like last night I didn't go anywhere for the whole day, and he comes back talking shit with his little baby ass 10,000 steps. So I just went and walked like 5 miles and came home. I left at like 7 something, got back at like 9:20. I walked like 5 miles or something. I walked through the sketchiest fucking spot I've ever seen in my life. Like, anyway, yeah, it was dark. It was no cars. You'd see like one car every now and then. Like I took this right turn to try to like take a shortcut back to the apartment. Oh my god. And another thing is like I like to try jujitsu. That's another thing I think is pretty interesting that I want to try out. I'm pretty excited for it, but to go to a jiu-jitsu place, it's gonna be pretty expensive. Like it's well over $50 a month, and that's not an expense I can afford right now. So, I have to postpone it. Even stuff like dating, man. Like I'm so locked in that like I just couldn't imagine trying to balance uh, going on dates and trying to dress nice and shit. Like nah, bro. Like I'm so dialed in, it's insane. Like I've had, and the thing is, like whenever I'm talking to like coworkers, they ask me like, what do you do for fun? I'm just like, man, like I play games sometimes, and like most of the time I'm drawing. People look at you like you're fucking nuts, like like what the hell, like they just don't understand. I don't know. People just don't get it. Like it's hard. It's something that's not like easily explainable. But of course, there's see a girl at work, you guys like each other or whatever, and it's just like, man, I should like, because then it's like from my opinion, okay, it's like if you're gonna be with somebody, you should be able to spend time with them without feeling like you're like sacrificing something every time. Like that's a sacrifice time wise that I just wouldn't be able to make, like with the clear like I don't know. I would, if I'm not short for time, like I penny, like I don't know if penny pinching is time is a thing, but like I'm always thinking like if I don't, for example, like if I spend an hour and a half on the bus to get home, that's gonna, like, it's from what would be a 10-minute drive, it's just like I'm thinking like, man, I'm gonna be drained. There's gonna be some guy on the bus, like at the bus, like one time I got on the bus and fuck, this guy was like, he would not stop talking, bro. Like there are these two guys right at the bus stop. I get there, I'm in work uniform and everything. It kind of looks like a suit, if I'm being honest, but I'm just standing there minding my own business. This guy comes over talking to me, and then they're both talking to me, and then like one guy's cutting the other guy off, so like this guy's getting like aggravated mid conversation. He's like, man, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? I'm like, why are you guys talking to me, man? Like, and sometimes I go on autopilot where I can keep a conversation going like without even really thinking about it, because I'll tend to like get curious about certain things and ask questions, and then next thing you know, like I'm like, wait, why the fuck am I even here? Like I need to just get away from these guys. Like I don't know. I don't like having conversations on the sidewalk at like 8 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? I'm not like an idiot, right? Like no one's gonna walk up to me and be like, "Oh, you ever seen these flowers before? I'll sell you some," and I'll be like, "Oh, what kind of flowers are they?" Like, no, I'm not a fucking idiot. Okay, like, but yeah, yeah, these videos, man, I gotta clean this shit up, dude. I'm like, I'm all over the place. But yeah, it's just, it's still a lot of sacrifices going on, and I'm hoping that I can just keep on top of myself as far as being like disciplined and making sure that I keep working at it, and most importantly apply more. Like I say, you can ask anybody who knows me, they'll probably point that out. Well, anyone who knows me well, like one of my friend groups from FZD, like they'll probably point out that I just don't apply as much, and I second guess like everything. It's pretty bad. So that's another thing that I'm working on, and another thing too, like I don't want this to necessarily like discourage anybody, like I know that a lot of these things that I mentioned aren't exactly the most positive things, and but like if it's all just a matter of how, like, it being an obstacle and you maneuvering like your way around it. Like I said, some people are gonna approach things very differently, and like if you're someone who is who just graduated school, I know a few of you guys who just graduated school, and you're wondering like if I've got a job yet, with my skill set. Like, just try not to compare yourself to me. You're gonna have your own ups and downs. I'm gonna have mine. Just because I haven't gotten like a full-time gig in a studio doesn't mean you won't. You might have better luck than I do. You might have a better portfolio than I do. You might have a better personality than I do. Like, there's so many different factors that come into someone actually fucking hiring you. So like, it's just like I said, I have the downside of not really applying as much as I should. So I don't want some of you guys to listen to this and be like, man, like if this guy has this portfolio, like, and he can't get a job, like there's no way I can. Like, please, God, like don't try not to think that way. It's just a rock. It's a wall that you just have to keep chipping at. And like I said, there's people who have graduated from FCD with fantastic portfolios who aren't working right now, who aren't looking for work. But if you only judge it based on what you see on the outside instead of thinking about, well, what's going on in that person's life that might be stopping them from pursuing that thing. You know, there's all kinds of things. Like if you have, some people have financial, like some people can't wait around right after they graduate to apply for a couple months or whatever, and then life just scoops you up. You know, it's like you, next thing you know, you're trying to think about 10, 20 different things, and you know, you just have to get a day job, and after that day job, you don't have the energy to go and apply for things, and you just never know. Some people have good portfolios and don't even really they find that they don't even like concept that much. It really always just depends on the person. So don't be discouraged, or at least I don't want to say don't be discouraged, like, because it'll happen, and you just have to be prepared for that. Like, I need to prepare myself to be discouraged when I apply for jobs, because that's just how it is. No one's gonna be smiling while they're typing in their 15th fucking what's it called, a cover letter, you know, or their email. Like, you're gonna be like, oh man, this is a drag, I hope this actually goes somewhere. You know, you type it in, you think it's good enough, you send it, and it's not necessarily a good feeling, but that's just what's necessary. But yeah, just that's why I try to be transparent. That's my whole thing with my channel, is just I try to give you guys like the full picture. Like I always say too, like the fact that I even got to go to school for this, like I got so lucky. Like, but outside of my grandma and what she did for me, there's no fucking way I would have been able to go across the world to go to that school. It was impossible. It was just that so many bad things happened that put us in that situation where it was like, well, if you want, like, we can try to like pit this together. Like, this is what my grandma did. She took what she had, you know, from her hard work, and gave me that chance, you know. So like it man, like I almost tear up thinking about it, man, because it's like I really wouldn't have been able to, like, man, I'm starting to tear up. All right, you guys get the point, man. Like, just don't I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say at this point. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are doing good, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Hopefully my next video won't be so far out, though. I'm hoping I can get it out by I don't want to put a time out there, because then, like, it's so weird too, because like whenever I was working at the store, people would be like, oh, you have such a nice voice, you should make radio or something. And I'm like, and like in my mind I would process that as like you guys saying you need to upload a video, because it's been so long. Like, I'd be like, oh man, I have, like, every time people say that, I'm thinking like, man, I haven't uploaded a video in a long time. So I'm glad that I finally got around to this. But yeah, what was I about to say? Yeah, I'll hopefully I'll see you guys again soon with some better news. But yeah. Oh, one more thing too. One more thing. Okay, I forgot to mention this. When I got my car, guys, I literally got, okay, this is just for the people out there, because there was a few comments talking about like how you guys were also getting your driver's licenses at the same time I was, right? There, I got so you know the picture cameras that sit at traffic stops and stuff, and they take pictures like when people do shit. I got a ticket 2 days after getting my, my car. Like, it was on the stupidest shit. Okay, $100 ticket too, by the way. I made a left turn on a red arrow. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, I was a baby driver. I'm still a baby driver. Okay, so like I think I was driving behind this truck. Like sometimes the truck takes so long to turn that you think like it just scrambles your brain as far as like how long it's gonna take for you to get to that line. And I think I came like when I was coming up on it, it was orange, but like I think I was going so fast that I didn't want to just stop like or slow down or something like that, and I got that ticket, bro. Like they got me in 4K. So like it was, I'd say like for some of you guys who are still getting your licenses and stuff, like a lot of the things that you learn aren't gonna be like on your test. I think most are like on your driver's test or like in pursuit of it. But it's honestly, it feels like it's mostly just dealing with different situations. Like when you drive in a different area for the first time, like you won't know what the hell's going on. So like you're gonna make those mistakes. Like I have made some stupid fucking mistake. Let me tell you, there's this one light. So you know sometimes where you stop at a light and it'll have a line where you stop like, you know, behind that line, that's where you want to stop. Sometimes the line is fucking invisible. There's like it's chipped away. It's like you barely see it. So like when I'll barely see it, but it won't register until I don't see a line past that, and I'm like, oh shit, that's where the line was. So there's this one time it's really hard to explain, but like I basically stopped past that line, and it was the most like like I'm just sitting in the car like face palming because I was like, oh my fucking god, like all the cars stopped behind me. So I was just sitting there, like, it wasn't like I was in the way of traffic, though. The way the street was, it was like I was like going to my left and right. There were no cars that were coming like directly in front of me. It was like the street was at a different angle. So like it was kind of different, but I was just sitting there like, man. And then this police officer, like, he was driving from the left and he was making a left turn. And I saw the police car and I was just like, you know, like where you just that meme where the guy's just sitting there like and everything's on fire and he's just smiling like that. That's how I was. I was just like, man, if this guy pulls me over, I had it coming. Like I wouldn't even be mad. Like I was just like, I'm fucked. But he just kept driving. It was just like I didn't run the red light or whatever. So I don't know. Some of that stuff you just learn on the go. You just have to be really like when I do. Is like when I go somewhere I haven't been, I'll look on Google Maps to see if there's anything like I should know about, like a street merging down the road or something, because I don't like switching lanes when there's heavy traffic, obviously being a new driver. So like if I know it's gonna merge, like the right lane is gonna merge into the left, like I'll just stay in the left. Like I'm not doing all that shit, like, or like and I know there's sometimes signs, but when you're driving, sometimes it's hard to like, especially as a beginner, it's hard to like scan that at the same time. So it's tricky. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Who knows? All right. I'll catch you guys later. This video is insane.